Have you ever wondered what type of magnesium is the right one for you? Hello, my successful and healthy earthlings. Mihaela Ragushia, naturopath, founder of the Natural Health Podcast. Today, I'm going to share with you all things magnesium supplements. You're probably walking down the aisle and there's so many different types of magnesiums and you're like, which one do I get? Which one is the right one for you? If you ever thought about that, this is exactly the video for you. At the end of this episode, I'm going to give you an opportunity to join our health and success oriented community by joining the Natural Health newsletter, clicking below. Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast, where we bring awareness to sustainable health in a business hustle space. Natural Health Podcast is perfect for the high-performing, business-minded individuals who want to work with their biochemistry to achieve success and optimal health. It's Wednesday, which means it's time for What Would I Do? In today's episode of Natural Health Podcast, we discuss this week's questions. All questions are kept confidential. I read and answer them as if it was me, hence why it's called What Would I Do? The information provided is not to be taken as advice and is solely for information purposes only. I'm not here to cure, treat, or provide medical advice. I'm here to educate and inform you so you're able to take steps towards optimal health. Please discuss any medical issues with your healthcare professional. Let's get into today's question. Today's question says, can you please help me figure out which magnesium I should buy and which one I should stay away from? Thank you. What an absolutely great question. Like I said, you're probably going down the aisle and seeing all different types of magnesiums. And then you're like, well, which one is the right one for me? Or you have tried magnesium supplements and you've said, you know what, they don't work. And then you maybe bought another one and you're like, that magnesium works. Why does that magnesium work compared to the other one? I'm about to answer all of those questions just for you. But before we get into it, let's have a look at magnesium. What is magnesium, right? Magnesium is a mineral found in the earth, sea, plants, animals, and humans. I mean, how beautiful is that in itself? About 60% of magnesium in your body is found in your bone, while the rest is in muscles, soft tissues, fluids, including blood. In fact, every cell in your body contains magnesium and needs it to function. One of magnesium's main role is acting as cofactor or helping molecules in biochemical reactions continue to perform by enzyme. In fact, it's involved in minimum 600 different reactions in your body. And these include, let's name a few, right? So you can get a better understanding. Energy creation. If you're low in energy, you may be magnesium deficient. Protein formation. Gene maintenance helps create and repair DNA and RNA damage, which is getting damaged every single second. Muscle movement, it's part of the contraction and relaxation of muscles. So if you're having muscle spasms, your muscles aren't relaxing, maybe magnesium deficiency. Nervous system regulation helps regulate neurotransmitters, which send messages throughout your brain and nervous system. So if there's any nervous system issues, may be a magnesium deficiency. Unfortunately, studies suggest about 50% of individuals get less than the recommended daily amount of magnesium. That is a lot of individuals. And you know what? You may be one of them. If you're not, the person next to you is, right? And you're like, well, how do I know if I'm magnesium deficient? Let's look at some things that it can help with. Headaches, migraines, energy, inflammation, blood pressure, diabetes, depression, anxiety, exercise, and PMS, right? The interesting fact is, in 1900, the average intake of magnesium was about 475 to 500 mgs daily. Today, it's only about 175 to 225 milligrams daily. That's a huge drop, right? That is an absolutely huge drop. And a lot of individuals are magnesium deficient due to this. And it's been cited to contribute to such things as atherosclerosis, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, obesity, osteoporosis, and even certain types of cancers. So then, why are you low in magnesium? Why are you low? I know your question is which one should stay away from, and I could do a whole podcast on this, I probably should, but why are you low in magnesium? What has happened, right? Well, stress, physical and emotional stress are around us all the time. They drain our body of magnesium. In fact, studies show an inverse relationship between cortisol and magnesium. The higher the magnesium, the lower the cortisol, and vice versa. The higher the cortisol, our stress hormone, the lower the magnesium. A lot of people say, hey, I'm not stressed. If you're living here now today, if you're listening to this, you have some type of stress. If it's inflammation, if it's emotional, if it's physical, if it's perceived, there's definitely some stress happening in there, right? Like I mentioned, I'll go through some symptoms of magnesium deficiency: muscle twitches, cramps, headaches, migraines, like I said, anxiety, insomnia, trouble sleeping, constipation, brain fog, low bone mineral, low thyroid function, and even high blood pressure. Essentially, being stressed out depletes you of magnesium stores. Either the stress or the indirect behavior associated with stress, such as maybe even eating junk food or having some type of medications, that depletes you of magnesium. But I know your question was, what magnesium should I take and what should I stay away from? It's a little bit hard for me to answer that because I don't know what you're taking your magnesium for. Different types of magnesiums are good for different types of things. So I guess some of the questions that I could ask is, why do you think you need magnesium? What type of magnesiums have you used in the past? What has worked? What hasn't worked? When do you use it? Do you use it during the day, in the morning, at night? What are you trying to achieve by using this magnesium? Have you tried eating in magnesium foods? Has that worked for you? Why are you jumping straight away to supplements? Have you tried foods in itself? So many questions to ask yourself before you determine if a magnesium supplement is right for you. I always say, talk to a healthcare professional that you trust and is able to assist you with it. But let's look at what I would do, right? What would I do? First of all, I would ensure that my diet is filled with magnesium, right? What does a diet filled with magnesium look like? Well, it looks like a diet filled with leafy greens, pepita seeds, cacao powder, sunflower seeds, Brazilian nuts, poppy seeds, chia seeds, tahini, seaweed, soy flour, almonds, cashews, buckwheat, quinoa, beans, eggs if you're not vegan, and things like that. Mainly leafy greens and high magnesium foods. That's what the diet type looks like. And all those things that I spoke about, if you're like, I don't eat any of them, you may be magnesium deficient because you actually are not ingesting them, right? I would also ensure that my diet is also filled with B1, B6, vitamin C, vitamin D, as they help absorb the magnesium. So you may, if you are eating those foods, you may be like, I am eating those foods, Mihaela. But then what I might say is you actually may be deficient in B1, B6, vitamin C, vitamin D, which is not absorbing that magnesium. So many things to look into, right? I would ensure that my diet is not filled with things that actually reduce my magnesium, such as junk food, stress, medication. And then let's look at magnesium supplements, right? Okay, so there's so many different magnesium supplements. I'll name the top ones that individuals use. There's magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate, magnesium glycinate, magnesium malate, magnesium orotate, magnesium L-threonate, and magnesium sulfate. The one you said, which one should I stay away from? Depends what your goal is, right? The one that I would stay away from, because I don't have constipation is not an issue. I personally would stay away from magnesium oxide because that is a laxative, right? And I don't have constipation. There's no need for me to take magnesium oxide. So that's why I say to you, remember what your goal is. What is your goal, right? There is magnesium citrate, which is a better absorbed from than oxide, but it also has a slight laxative effect. Look, it's a good choice for those hoping just to increase the magnesium levels in the body, and it's effective help with preventing kidney stones. Then there's magnesium glycinate. Magnesium paired with amino acid glycinate is the best used for cases of anxiety, restless legs, insomnia, and pain. So if that is something that you're suffering with, then magnesium glycinate won't be the right one for you, right? Because it's used for conditions that involve an overactive nervous system. Then there is magnesium orotate. Orotate is beneficial for heart health by increasing DNA and RNA repairs in heart cells. Specifically, this magnesium can increase exercise tolerance in those with heart failure. So it depends if that is your goal. Magnesium L-threonate. The research has shown benefits of this type of magnesium in improving cognitive function, executive function such as planning, organizing, and keeping attention. It is superior to other forms of magnesium at crossing the blood-brain barrier and bringing magnesium into the central nervous system, if that is your goal, right? Do you see where I'm coming from? These magnesiums may be beneficial, depends what your goal is. And then there's magnesium sulfate, and this is not to be taken orally. It's absorbed through the skin, right? Such as Epsom salts, baths, and so forth. So if that's something that you're looking for. So essentially, from those, I would stay away from magnesium oxide. And then the thing that I like is I like finding a supplement that may have a little bit of magnesium citrate, magnesium glycinate, and then also maybe a bit of magnesium L-threonate, and maybe even magnesium orotate. a combination, right? But it depends what my goal is, right? That's what I need to look at. I need to look at what is your goal to achieve, or what are the symptoms you're having. This is what's so important to work with a healthcare professional, because, for example, if you've got sleep issues and things like that, magnesium glycinate might be the right one for you, right? If someone's having issues with blood vessels, heart, magnesium orotate might be the right one for you, right? There's so many things. So I would highly recommend figuring out what is happening, why you think you need this magnesium, and then looking at the different types of magnesiums and what they help you out with. But essentially, question, answer your question, I would stay away from magnesium oxide. I don't know your personal history and things like that, so please don't take this advice. And then I would take on a magnesium supplement that has a combination of different magnesiums in there, or a specific magnesium that is specific to my condition. So there you have it. I hope I answered the question in regards to magnesium supplement. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and hopefully I'll be able to answer your question via the Natural Health Podcast. If you want to join a health and success oriented community, click below and join a Natural Health newsletter. Until then, remember that thank you for joining us on Natural Health Podcast. And remember, the missing link between failure and success is your health. Content and information provided here is opinion of Mahela Raguse and is for information purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. It is not intended to provide medical advice or take the place of medical advice or any current treatment you're undertaking. Consult your own medical professionals for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast. It is advised that you consult your doctor or healthcare professional in relation to any health concerns you may be having. Mahela Raguse does not take responsibility for any health consequences which occur from a person listening, viewing, or reading this content. And in no circumstances shall the Natural Podcast, Mahela Raguse, any guests or contributors to the Natural Podcast, or any employees, associates, or affiliates of Mahela Raguse be responsible for damages arising from the information provided on the Natural Podcast. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical conditions in either yourself or others. Please note, if you're taking prescription, do not stop your medication or start a new protocol, including but not limited to supplements, diet, lifestyle changes without consulting a doctor or healthcare professional. If you or any person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical advice. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have read or heard on the Natural Podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. Neither Mahela Raguse nor the publisher of this content takes responsibility for the possible health consequences of any person or persons reading or listening or following the information in the educational content.